Resident Evil 4 Remake is an absolute banger of a game. The increased importance of the knife begs a question that has been asked since the dawn of time. How can I make this video game less fun? And one of the most iconic of ways to make a game less fun is to only use the knife. Knife only runs. Hey, Weeb Sauce, waifu here. That begs the question, can you beat Resident Evil 4 while only using the knife? No. In fact, it's not even close. It turns out there are tons of spots in this game where you absolutely have to shoot a gun to be able to progress. But what is shooting, really? Obviously, shooting a gun with handgun bullets coming out of your pistol, that's shooting. It's in the verb, shooting, or disparar in Spanish, to shoot. But do you shoot a grenade? Can you shoot a grenade? Do grenades count as shots? Well, the Halo Runs community doesn't seem to think so. They have a zero shot challenge that lots of them do, where they beat the game without shooting any guns, but they're allowed to use grenades. Grenades are a super important part of the routing in a zero shot run, solving all sorts of problems, from killing enemies to helping make jumps or to cross gaps. Can you beat Resident Evil 4 Remake with this rule set? Also no. Okay, excluding the minecart section. Okay, now we're talking. I wanted to find out, so I set out on this challenge to beat Resident Evil 4 Remake without shooting. The rules are a little complicated this time. I'm playing on the assisted difficulty. I'm not allowed to shoot any guns for any reason. I am allowed to throw grenades and flashes and use my knife. I can use the merchant and I can do speedrun skips. I just need to beat the game without shooting any guns. I am playing as Knight Leon so I can be the ultimate white knight and save this challenge. I figured it makes sense because I'll be using a knife for most of the run, and that's kind of like a sword, you know. The intro village section, I just walk down the yellow brick road till I arrive at bingo. I need to kill 15 people to end the village instantly, or I could run around for a few minutes and just wait for it to end. Obviously, waiting for it to end is much more realistic for this type of run. I still go around to collect as many resources as I can though. I grabbed the shotgun and 2 grenades. I ran around and the grabbers were too low T virus to grab me unassisted.
That's kind of low T, bitch.
Or so I thought. Grabbers. Attention, attention, this is a public service announcement. Speedrunners all know that you can skip the village by shooting the bell. It only works if you use the sniper or infinite rocket launcher. This is not viable in new game speedruns, only new game plus. We know. I'm glad you're excited, but please, we know. Please, God, make it stop. Thank you. After bingo was achieved, I scraped together the last bits of resources in the village I could find before heading on my way. While I can't use the shotgun or pistol, I can sell them and use that money to buy knife upgrades and crafting materials to make grenades. I run past others and make it all the way to Lewis, ending chapter 1. Upon the start of chapter 2, all of my stuff is taken from me, and to be honest, it's really not that big a deal. The game gives me another knife, so I'm hunky-dory. I give the villager a hickey and then collect all my stuff again, meeting up with the merchant. This is where I could sell my shotgun and upgrade my knife. It's maxed out right now and will basically never break and do a ton of damage. This should make this challenge a lot easier. I tank my way through the canyon as the villagers yell at me about how they love eating asshole. Kind of weird. I feel like everyone likes doing that, but you know, villagers are very vocal about it. So far, the most dangerous enemies have been the bear traps. I swear they're invisible in this game. Oh, I got bear trapped. Bro, the bear traps are invisible, I swear to God. I decided to do this challenge on assisted, so that the bosses would be for sure possible. I figured I might not be able to knife some of them to death otherwise. I was planning on saving the dog to make the Gigante fight easier, but I swear, I always completely forget it exists in this game. He's hiding around the corner in the Big Cheese's backyard, but I run just right past him completely clueless. My chat reminds me that he exists, so I go back to save him. He's really useful in the Gigante fight. It's kind of brutal, like a pit bull in an elementary school. On the way to Delago, I desecrate 2 graves and grab a few snakes. That way I can have more spinels for the merchant's special inventory. I want to get the spinels so I can buy the black case. The black case gives me extra large resources from random drops. This would help a ton as you could use the large resources to craft flashes and heavy grenades. After stealing the oil from the locals like a good American, I then use it to power my war machine and kill all of the local wildlife. Delago doesn't stand a chance. Then I take a power nap in the boat and wake up really needing some heads. I go around collecting them and then make it back to the lake where I collect the free red 9 and some treasures. I sell them at the merchant, grab the black case and the bigger case size. I finally arrive at the first real boss at about 53 minutes in, and it's time to take this Gigante down. While like you, I'm American, I do my best Londoner cosplay and stab this dude in the dick 145 times. On assisted, he basically doesn't react. I 2-cycle him with the help of the dog, and I'm done in under 2 minutes. I first tried it, like we beat the British first try. It was basically the Boston Tea Party of boss fights. And to the victor goes the spoils. I get to save Ashley, and I'm now going to take her to safety. Or at least that was the plan, but the villagers have other plans. They lock Ashley, Lewis, and myself in the cabin and force us to fight to the death to determine who is more British. I was kind of afraid of my knife breaking by using it too much, but at this point, it's fully upgraded for where we are in the game, and on assisted, it's basically impossible to break it. I only started to realize it here. I just let loose when I figured it out though. I finished the cabin in about 1 hour and 10 minutes. That's crazy. Hey, first try, let's go. This just left the Bella sisters and the Mendez fight for village. Oh, and this super awful hallway with Ashley. I swear the new rooms that this game added are some of the most difficult rooms in the whole game. I use a flash to be able to run past them, but even then, Ashley still gets grabbed. Bro, Ashley gets blinded by flash grenades. Once I arrive at the Bella sisters, I assassinate the villagers outside, and make sure to leave Ashley up top in the locker. After I take her lunch money and shove her in there, of course. I drop down to a chainsaw fight, and I make short work of the sister on the right who has the crank. I nade them both to stun, then I pretend she is Archduke Franz Ferdinand and I'm trying to start World War I. Then I run to the crank door and throw a flash to cover myself while I crank it. The first flash misses for some reason, so I had to throw another. Why are you not flashed? Ashley made her way to me and we escape and start running away from Mendez. This section's kind of a breeze because Ashley doesn't have to be with you. You can just run past everything and she'll teleport to you on the cutscene. Well, that would be true if she didn't get her ass blasted by some villagers. Her being down makes the cutscene instantly fail you instead of instantly win. Unfortunate. Is that because she was incapacitated when I hit the trigger? We next arrive at the Mendez boss fight, and I was expecting there to be some more strategy involved in this, but I really just walked up and stabbed him in the midsection until the first phase was over. The second phase has a few different attacks, but he loves to run far away, so it's a bit difficult to get him with the knife. He does eventually come to you, that's when I get stabbing. He has one attack where he throws explosive barrels at you, and I'm not sure it's possible to dodge this without shooting the barrels themselves. Maybe if you climb the ladder, but I didn't figure this out right away. I died once, but on the second try, the grilled cheese was toast. Nice. I make it to the castle in about an hour and a half. Village was pretty straightforward, but the castle would have a lot of instances where I'd have to get a little bit creative to be able to progress without shooting. The first merchant lets me buy a sniper and a scope. I'm going to use this for some skips coming up, not to shoot. And also, it allows me to buy the flash grenade recipe and a bunch of large resources. Apparently, on assisted, the merchant allows you to buy as many large resources as you want. If I had known this, I probably would have started the run on standard, but I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to beat it on assisted when I started. For the cannon section, I had heard that you could use grenades to break open the door, skipping this part. But this must have been on Fox News or something, because it's just not true. Maybe I needed heavy grenades or something, but I couldn't get it with regular ones. Someone told me that worked. I got lied to. I got scammed. The cannon is required to open the door. It's more of a cutscene than a gun, so I use it to open the door. This one is arguable, but I was hoping I was going to be able to skip it. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you can. What you can skip though is the first Garador fight. By holding the sniper rifle and looking down at the ground with a scope equipped, Leon's hitbox gets pushed into the door. When you unscope, he is in the wall. If you then flick around and quickly interact with the door, then you can open the door from the other side. This unlocks the door and allows you to clip right through it. Door clips like this save a ton of time and make the game a lot more manageable. Also, it's just really fun. I hadn't mastered this yet, so I spent about an hour practicing it. This one in particular is the hardest one in the game at the moment. I found that the trick was a lot easier if you bind the interact buttons to two keys that you can mash right next to each other, then start mashing them before I turned around. That and staying scoped for the first little tiny bit of the turning made it much more consistent for me. I also wanted to master this to see how consistent it is, because I'm throwing a huge speedrunning tournament and I was trying to figure out what our rules should be. The tournament is an open tournament that anyone can participate in. New game professional any % with glitches. In order to participate, you just need to stream your New Game Pro any % speedruns while using the run.gg component, then provide video proof of your run. Top 8 will qualify for a live event that's going to be hosted on my Twitch stream April 15th and will compete for $3,100 and maybe even more with more contributions in the future. More info will be in the description of this video. Anyways, shilling aside, it's time for the comment of the day. Stalking Hierarch says, if they do remake Resident Evil 5, what do you hope that they'll keep? And what changes do you think will need to be made? Personally, I think at this point, they'll probably remake RE5. And honestly, I think it has some of the greatest potential for a remake of any of the games that have been remade so far. I love RE5 as much as the next guy, but holy shit, the boss fights are all terrible. Most of the normal combat and gameplay is great, but the boss fights need to go. RE4 Remake has some of the best boss fights in the series, so going with that approach would be amazing. Get rid of the Africa Drift section, the boat section, and update the movement mechanics, and it could be one of the best games of all time, to be honest. But I would much prefer a Devil May Cry 1 remake to an RE5 remake. Or, you know, some original idea. To apologize for my cheating, I will atone with a cat camera for the rest of the run. Say hello to Oreo. I did eventually get the hang of the door clips. It's really consistent, it was just a skill issue. Speaking of skill issues, we arrive at Waterhall, and this will be for sure one of the most difficult rooms in the game. Ashley can't crank for you in the remake, so I can't defend her while she cranks. That means I basically have to kill everything in the room before I start cranking. In the basement, I bait out 3 plagas, then use a flash to kill them all. When back upstairs, I managed to crank it out quickly, but then Ashley gets absolutely destroyed by the archers. The second phase is where things get a little bit tricky. I need to defend Ashley while she does 2 cranks, but I can't shoot any guns. I have like 7 grenades and 10 flashes, but the flash grenades don't last very long. And unfortunately, Ashley is much more passive here than in the original, so I can't just stun the Ganados and hope she runs by. Even if they are flashed, she won't run past them. And when I flash near her, she also gets flashed, and can even drop the crank, restarting its progress. This means I had to basically kill every enemy with grenades. I needed to restart and try again because I didn't have enough. I needed to group the enemies together with the flashes to maximize the kills per grenade. I ran completely out of grenades and almost flashes, but I did manage to do it without shooting. Come on, Ashley. Okay. I used all my grenades, but me and Ashley split up because it's time for me to go fishing. Then I buy some body armor and a ton of large resources. I am stocked full of flashes and ready for anything. Well, except for grabbers. Grabbers? I start my own little fight club and destroy everyone, including the Red Zealot. Then I arrive at the trickiest part in the run to avoid shots. This extra section with the giant throwing his shit at you has a lot of weighted gates that only open if you shoot the yellow painted weights. I wasn't sure how I was going to do this section. I tested flashes and even eggs, but unfortunately neither of those could break the weights. I was pretty sure that grenades would work, but I used all of them in Waterhall. I was able to collect a few more, but I had a very limited supply. I was able to break it with a nade, but there was going to be more to come. If I didn't have enough grenades, then I would be screwed. There were 2 more inside, but I could knife those ones. I used the cannon to kill the giant and open the door, and I make my way through the maze section, rescuing Ashley and knifing some doggos. The next merchant allows me to upgrade the knife even more. I have so much money, I can even buy the exclusive. I will never have to worry about the knife breaking again. I mean, it could, but it's very unlikely unassisted. That combined with the extra damage should solve most of my boss problems. Before I can progress though, I need to collect 3 heads of Cerberus. The first one is in this room, where the bridge is lowered, making you fight through a very hard room. Instead though, I just flash my pecs, blinding the enemy who normally drops the bridge by my pure whiteness. Having never gone outside in my all 24 years of my life, I can actually blend into a whiteboard. And this sight is so blinding, it skips him from even lowering the bridge in the first place. I can then skip the entire room. I thought the Knight's room was gonna be hard, but I just walked up and punched them in the face basically. Then I could use flashes to kill the plagas. Once I'm playing as Ashley, I go right into the clock and enter the time code. This skips most of the level, making replays much more fun. Ashley can't shoot any guns, so that makes it really simple to avoid shooting here. Once I'm playing as Leon again, I make it to the Novi's room. By looking at the ground and just running by, at least unassisted, that made the room completely free. Right after this though is another tricky spot. You have to break 2 weights to lower the bridge. Grenades work here too, but the throws can be a bit more tricky. The left side one you can't see from the close part of the bridge, but where you can see it from, you can't reach with the grenade, it's too far away. So you need to throw it from the closest point and know where it is from the yellow paint. Yeah, there we go. Nice. After that, I arrive at the hardest room in the game, the double Garador room. I knew way ahead of time that I would have to kill every enemy in this room. Fighting the Garadors with ads around was not going to be fun. I did learn though that you could stealth walk up to them and do a knife QTE for insane damage. Can I like walk behind him and do like a knife QTE or something? Oh, I can. The bells made this a trivial task, but I found it confusing when I could actually do it even if they weren't stuck in the wall. But like, it was really inconsistent. Sometimes I'd walk up to them and there'd be no QTE prompt, and other times there would. It just didn't really seem like it was consistent at all. I don't know why. This room was the closest my knife ever got to breaking. It had only a sliver left after I beat it. At the next merchant shop before Verdugo, I repair my knife and get the heavy grenade crafting recipe. For Verdugo, I flashed him to run past and crank open the door. I grabbed the cutscene to start the elevator timer, then I did the Verdugo baiting strategy. I used it in my no merchant video. I could kill him, but it would be really hard and there would be no upside as I already have so much money and nothing to use it on. So I just run around in the square shape, baiting attacks until the elevator shows up. Luis shows up and we take on the dynamite room. Or rather, I run past everything and he just stands there doing nothing. A streamer, Luis is shooting. Look, he's on his own mission, all right? I can't control him. We get into the double Gigante fight and I make my way back to London. I stun the first one and dunk him. Then Luis attaches the dynamite to the armored one and I throw a 6 CSGO nade lineup to break it and then dunk him. What a throw. Put me in that CS2 beta, dude, come on. This is where the zero shot run comes to die though. The minecart. This section, Luis gives you a red 9 that has unlimited ammo. There are a few sections where you absolutely have to shoot or you will instantly die. But I was determined to try and bring it down to the least amount of shots for this section as possible. The archers can all just randomly miss, making them completely optional to shoot. The minecart has health, and when it reaches 0, you instantly die. You can run into a lot of stuff without dying, but some things will insta-kill you. There is a target that you have to shoot to change track directions, and if you don't, then you'll just instantly die. So what happens if I don't shoot this? Do I just die? Yes, instant death. Okay, you can't tank it, unfortunate. The barricades you can run into and don't kill you, so you can just tank those. And the next required shot is a dynamite guy standing on the tracks. Unfortunately, you can't just run him over, or it's an instant death. Surely we'll just run him over, right? He won't explode. Sad. A third shot is required for the second changing of the tracks as well. Then we switch minecarts, giving the minecart full health once again, allowing us to tank more hits. One more dynamite guy makes 4 shots. Then there's an explosive barrel on the tracks, and the strategy here is a little bit interesting. When you get here, you don't have full health. But when you die, you reload checkpoint and you get full HP even if you didn't have full HP when you hit the checkpoint. So by face taking the explosive, you can get all of your HP back that you lost from the barricades earlier. This allows you to take 1 extra hit later on. But after that, when you reload, you must shoot the barrels, making that shot number 5. The Dr. Salvador on the tracks has to hit you 3 times when the minecart's at full HP to kill you. He waits till the last second, so it looks like you could just tank them all, but unfortunately, he is scripted to finish you off if you don't shoot him. I need to shoot him at least 1 time to stun him, so I only take 2 hits. And the minecart won't die. That makes 6 shots so far, and every single shot is on the minecart. I don't really think that counts though. I mean, it's impossible to progress without shooting there, and it's totally scripted. The game even gives you an infinite ammo weapon. Reducing the amount of shots required was kind of fun though. I'm not sure it's possible to do it in any less than 6. After that is Novies and Krauser. Luis takes the L, but Krauser gets ratioed. Oh my god, I fucking annihilated him. I get to the elevator and there is a new problem. The red zealot will keep spawning plagas, and the plagas instantly stop the elevator. My idea to get around this was to spam the zealot with flashes. I think in hindsight though, it would have been better to just let the plagas pop and then use his flashes to instantly kill them, since I'm gonna use the flashes anyways. Next is Salazar, and Salazar is the biggest hurdle in this run. He loves to run around the arena and almost always attacks from afar. This is why I sold everything in my inventory that I didn't need and crafted a ton of heavy grenades. With these, I could knock Salazar out of the air and then I could stab him to death. The knife QTE does a lot of damage. You definitely want to use the knife QTE, but getting normal stabs in before and after is way more optimal. Doing the QTE too early wastes a lot of damage. I killed him on the first try. It was quite easy actually, but I used a ton of grenades. Just a day after I did this run, there was a huge discovery that made this fight much simpler. It turns out the golden egg on Bach Island in the village can be taken all the way to Salazar, and if you hit him with it, it instantly removes 70% of his HP and downs him, making it possible to knife him to death instantly. It's fucking hilarious. I did not know about that for this run, but in the future, I will definitely use this strategy. That works. I finally made it to the island in about 3.5 hours. This is actually on pace to be my fastest playthrough yet. This is when I have the encounter with the single mothers. These baddies regenerate and you need the bioscope to see their weak points. The weak points, I believe, are random. So even though I can't shoot them, I need to use the scope to be able to see where they are. Once I know where they are, I can stab them enough times to explode the Paga and then finish her off. You can also parry their grabs by cutting their arms clean off. It's fucking sick. Bro. All the single mothers out here. Give them a round of applause for the one that has no hands. The single mother with a wrench is also random, so I need the scope to figure out which one has the wrench. Once I do know though, their minivan driving days are over. They're soon going to be riding in a hearse. Then I save Ashley and head into chapter 14, where I do the wrecking ball / single mother skip. By sniper clipping through the door, that brings us immediately to the final Krauser fight, where I have to blow myself up on the trip mines to progress. It's been a long time, comrade. I have a lot more experience with this fight now after my no merchant run, so I absolutely blow out Krauser's boy hole in record time. Krauser wasn't ready, I was. Get fucked. Then I sell my knife and use my money to fully upgrade the new knife that I got from Krauser. It just has better damage output. It's not quite as fast swinging or have as much durability, but in this difficulty, I don't really think that's gonna matter. Maybe in higher difficulties it would, but it's unassisted, so I don't have to worry about it breaking. Now on 5-4, I have Mike escort me to the end of the level, killing the towers and rocket launching everything in sight. There are a few shots I can avoid here. There's an anti-aircraft gun that stops Mike from shooting enemies and opening the door to progress. You can use heavy grenades and a normal grenade to kill it, skipping having to shoot the turret with a turret. Then I spam flashes and run through the triple turret room. This thing destroyed me. I had to spam so many heals in all of my flashes. My timing was impeccable on that. The next room is similar, but not quite as bad. Nothing would ever be as bad as the Ashley walking section though. You know, remove this bullshit, whatever the fuck this is. All that's left after that is the Sadler boss fight, and this one, I was under the impression would be the most difficult. Sadler is tall as hell in this game, so I wasn't going to be able to knife his weak spots like I could in the OG. Fortunately, his little calves can be stabbed, which stuns him really quickly. Then I could hit him in the eyes to do massive damage. I beat him first try, only downing him 2 times. After that is the second phase, which unfortunately is a pure auto-scroller. You're just waiting for Ada to give you the special rocket. This is where the no-shot run truly comes to die. After the special rocket is dropped, there's a timer. And if that timer reaches 0, you die. You can't open your inventory or anything. You have to use the special rocket, and without shooting it, you can't beat the game. That makes 7 shots total. After riding the jet ski, I beat the game. In 4 hours and 40 minutes without shooting any shots. Well, kinda. I shot 7 times total. 6 of those shots are during the minecart section. Things that you have to shoot or you instantly die in every scripted section. Then, finally, the special rocket that has to be used to beat the final boss. Everything else can be killed with the knife or some grenades. The sections where you have to break objects to bring down bridges can all be solved with grenades, and Ashley's sections of Waterhall can be cleared with the grenades as well. In this run, I honestly had no idea about the Salvador golden egg strategy, but that would make it even easier. You know, this challenge probably could be done on some of the higher difficulties, and maybe even pro, but for now, that's enough for me, and I'll maybe try that in the future. Shout out to all my patrons, I appreciate you. I'm gonna make some detailed notes about this run available on my Patreon at some point, so you know exactly where and where not to shoot and where to collect all the items. Available for just $3 a month. Remember, the speedrun tourney is happening on the 15th of April. Be sure to be there, on my stream at twitch.tv/waifu. I'm also speedrunning the game there, so, you know, come stop by. Thanks so much for watching and stay stylish.